Good evening. You're on as a co-host, Carrie. Okay.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Miss
Happy Wednesday.
Vibe Coder, Miss Kaspathon, Miss Cat. I think you're gonna win it. That's probably what's gonna happen. What do you think?
Well, I think there's a lot of really great projects, and there's still another 2 weeks, so we'll see.
Yeah. How long is it? I didn't really look into
It's
that.
I don't have the date in front of me, but I think it's the middle of February.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I haven't actually submitted anything yet to Kaspathon. I want to wait until I've done a few more updates.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I gotta try the game out and play it. Okay, we'll wait, give it a little bit to let the room fill up, and then we'll get it rolling here in a couple minutes.
It took me longer to create the game than it did for me to make all those browser extensions.
Really?
Yeah, twice as long. Yeah. The game, if I just wanted a simple Pong game, I could have had it done in an hour, but I wanted to play around with the possibilities. So I was playing with motion and movement and speed and responsiveness and changing backgrounds every level and just trying to take it to the next step so I could see what was possible. And when I started seeing it come together, I thought, wow, I could actually do a lot if I put my mind to it. So it got me
Yeah, it
excited.
looks like it's evolved over the last couple days, so super cool to see you do that.
Yeah, it's exciting times. Trying out new programs and new programming languages. There's a lot of things I'm opening and learning that I've never even seen before. A lot of this is brand new to me,
I
but
bet.
I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
And you had mentioned that so you've been, I imagine you get in this energy of creating where you almost can't stop, right? Is that
Yeah,
kind of what
yeah,
it's like?
yeah. Last night I was up till 4 in the morning coding, which wasn't smart considering I have to get up early in the morning to drive my son to school. So I learned my lesson. I have to come up with a responsible routine if I'm gonna do this, regularly at least. So yeah, it's infectious, it's addictive, and even when I'm going to sleep, I have ideas in my head. And so they just play in my mind and I have to turn the creativity down so I can go to sleep.
I bet. I bet. Well, yeah, that's super cool. I mean, you want to kind of get into it and share.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, get into it and share with us, your process, what it's been like for you, and anything that anything exciting. Obviously, you have a bunch of posts out that you shared with the community, but I'd love to. Super proud of you. So I want to start with that and seeing what you're
Thank you.
creating and putting yourself out there, being a part of the Caspathon. So yeah, share with us what your process has been like.
Well, a year ago, I wasn't coding anything, and I wasn't even sure how I could. I had gone to college and had learned how to do Python and C++ plus plus and machine learning for business, but in college, I wanted to throw my computer. I hated how hard it was with all the errors I was getting, and so I just didn't code anything. But then I kept seeing all these posts from developers in Caspa, including Michael Sutton and including people who are very intelligent who said, hey, everyone can build. You can use AI to basically write programs. And I said, yeah, right. But that would be cool. Well, anyway, I've always had that in the back of my mind that people have said you can use AI now to do most of the work. And even I on this show have said, hey, we can use AI to do this. So what I decided to do was sign up for Kaspathon, knowing I would be trying out the AI. Well, I said, well, I'm going to start with something simple. What's the simplest thing I could do? And so I decided to do a Pong game. And within an hour, I had the game ready to go. And I thought, well, let's see how far I can take this game without losing my mind and without getting upset and frustrated. And after 2.5 days, I came up with a 20 level game that takes the game beyond what anybody would expect. And people were impressed with it. And I thought, okay, I've done Pong. Now let's do some utility. Let's see what I can really do with AI. And I got a message from Rory from KII who said, why don't you try anti-gravity? I had been using Co-Pilot with GitHub to help me. Uh, but even before that, okay, so let me back up. When I started with Pong, I started with using Python, which is what I'm familiar with. And I was using Jupyter Notebook and Visual Code and Anaconda and PowerShell and all my different stuff doing this, and I got a working game. But when I started thinking about how I wanted to implement it for everyone else, I really went into the direction of JavaScript. But I didn't know how to convert it from Python to JavaScript. So I started asking AI that was on Microsoft Edge on my browser. And I would have to copy and paste suggestions and do a little research here and there. And it was very time consuming. And then I used up my allotment and they said, you can't use this anymore. You've asked us too many prompts. So I did a dig online to try to find where I could use AI to help me. And I ended up on GitHub where they had their AI, but what led me there was IBM. Their AI is called Watson, and I had to set up the API to my Visual Code, and I didn't like what it was doing, but when I was on GitHub, it had its own AI, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool." I tell it what I want, and instead of having to copy and paste all this stuff, it does it in the code for me, and my mind blew wide open. And so I started building in Copilot. Well, I reached my limit with that too because I'm doing the free version. But thankfully, they have a 30-day free trial. So I signed up for that. But I started getting some bugs after a while that it couldn't fix. And that was around the same time that Rory had written me and said, hey, try anti gravity. So I downloaded that, the free version, and it fixed the bugs that Copilot couldn't do. So now I'm swapping between different AIs to get these things to work. And then I reached my limit with anti-gravity. And then I just, oh, it was kind of frustrating, but I did get around it just doing different AI. And with the extensions, I thought, well, I want to get a browser extension for Edge because that's what I use. And why not start with a simple price tracker because the API is easy to deal with. And I thought this will be quick. And yeah, I was able to basically create extensions for Edge, Firefox, Chrome, which includes Brave and Vivaldi, and I did one for Opera, and I did all of that in one night. And it took me 2.5 days to do the Pong game. So as you can see, using the right kind of AI can speed up the process. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And right now I'm doing an app for Google Play, and the process is a lot harder. I've created the price tracker, but the problem I'm running into now is I have to meet to get it into there. So I have to go through a testing phase and go through all these other things. I've had to go through verification, and they asked for $25. I just paid that, and there's a lot more criteria, and it's a lot harder because there's a lot more programs. So I'm having to use Gradle and Android Studio, and that had me going to Red Hat, and I'm doing things in Java and learning Kotlin, and It's a lot, but it's fun. I'm not throwing the computer, so that's a great sign.
Like a foreign language to me. I'll share this. I did this is in the early 2000s. I did build but I built a website, a breakdancing website in a computer science class that I took. And I just remember how long it took me like 2.5 months to build that website. And of course, this is the early 2000s. And it's amazing to me that so you're saying obviously with AI, there's things that get sped up, right? In terms of yeah, that's pretty cool. That's super cool. Like how you've been able to do all that. I mean, it looks awesome. I haven't been able to try it myself. I will. Um, so, like, okay, so you mentioned that you went to school for it, and so you studied some of it. Would you say any of that helped you with navigating this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I got the highest score in our classes in college for this subject. And my teacher was shocked when I told her it was not going to be my major. She was kind of upset with me.
Mm.
I said, but I really love English. I really love editing. And she said, you got the highest grades in the class. But here's the thing though. Yeah, I got the highest grades in the class, but I don't feel like I can take all the credit for everything that I did. I felt like I had so much outside help that I just, in my gut, felt like I didn't deserve it, even though I found my way. But what I learned is that after college, it doesn't matter. When you're done with college, if you find a way to get something done and you have outside help and you have that extra push, you can get things done. And it's not about the grade, it's about making things happen. And once I had that mind shift of, okay, I'm not doing this for a grade, I'm doing this for adoption, it shifted for me and I stopped putting limits on myself. And I was really able to just push myself mentally because I like living with integrity. But I got to tell you, when I took that class, well, all those classes, because there were 5 of them, um, but it was the same teacher. So I say class because it's one teacher. Um, I don't know. I just feel like I had a shift in being able to do this on my own with the help of tools and not feeling that I'm somehow doing something wrong, right?
Yeah, I can imagine. Um, so. I mean, again, I haven't even tried it, so I don't have a frame of reference. But it sounds like a completely different world, and still got to spend time there, right? With giving it prompts. I mean, Odie has spoken to us about how he's vibe coding. Um, yeah, it seems super interesting.
One thing, if anyone's going to go in this direction, here's what I would tell you that no one else is going to tell you. You have to be prepared for the fact that even with AI, even with other tools, you're going to have errors. And every time one comes up, you're going to have 2 more pop up after you fix the first one. Even with all of these AI tools I'm using, I still have had to deal with dozens or 3. I'm talking dozens. So as soon as you fix one error, you're going to have to deal with 2 or 3 more. And that's the process. And when I first learned that in college, I got mad. I didn't know that was the process. I thought I was doing it all wrong and I wanted to destroy my computer. I remember being so upset that I yelled. I yelled. And I had never been in college and yelled over homework, but when it came to Python and stuff, I me to do Kaspathon. I knew I'd go into it being challenged, but I didn't feel upset this time because I wasn't on a deadline. Well, I am, but I'm not. And I'm choosing what I'm doing. And so it's a lot different. When the parameters let you have creativity, and you don't have someone telling you what you have to do and being graded on it and knowing it's going to affect your GPA, which I had a 4.0 and still do. And I wanted, it's a lot of pressure to keep that up. And so I didn't want to get a B. So I was doing everything I could to keep an A. And now that I'm not in college, I applied what I learned, but took it down a notch without all the pressure, and now it's fun. Now I'm enjoying it. Now I'm going, "Oh my goodness, I can code."
Yeah, that's a completely different energy to I was an A, B, C student. I never cared about my grades. Well, when I was always playing sports and I had professors that really liked me. I charmed them up to make sure I could pass the classes. But no, yeah, I can only imagine if the A, yeah, that's a completely different energy to come with it, right? If you've been through that, now it's like, okay, now you're working on something you want to do, and um, the creativity, I'm sure, is in a completely different energy, right? So you're gonna flow with it a lot better, more naturally.
Oh, so
So
many ideas.
there
There's
was no
so
yelling,
many
there was no
things.
throwing of the laptop. There
Mm-mm.
was so you had the
No.
expectations of, okay, there's
Yep.
going to be problems here and there. Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, in fact, the way I approach it now is, oh, here's another error. Oh, here's another error. Okay, cool. Here's another error. Oh, it's done. I got rid of all those errors. Great. Oh, great.
Well, that's
Yeah, it's that.
well, yeah, that's super dope that you've been able to create that. Yeah, that kind of like I wrote in a little, I sent you a little comment. I'm like, that's so inspiring that you were able to do all that. Um,
Yeah, thank you.
I
There's a lot more to come. There's a
yeah.
lot of things I want to do.
Yeah, my son's a big fan of all the old school, like Nintendo games and all that. So I'm like, I've seen him every morning and take him to school, but I saw your game. I'm like, he's gonna like this. I need to show him this Pong game. We can play it
That's
back and forth.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had my son try it out too. It started out real slow. He goes, "This is cool, Mom. This is cool." And then when he got to level 11 or 12, he went, "Whoa, Mom, this is cool." And I said, "Keep going, keep playing, keep playing." He gets to level 16. "Mom, this is crazy."
That's awesome. That's super dope.
Level 20. "Wow, I did it. That's great, Mom. Wow, this surprised me." So that made me feel good knowing that I could make my son that excited about something.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's always awesome when the boys are into something that, yeah, that you spent time on. You're like, okay, cool. That feels good. Fills the tank, no doubt.
Yeah. Uh, there are a lot of hidden expenses with this. I thought that I could just publish this on Google Play with no fee, but they charge $25. Thankfully, it's just a one-time fee, so if I make 5 or 6 apps down the road, I'm not gonna have to pay it again and again. It's just a one-time fee. But these kinds of things add up. And so this morning or last night or 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, I don't remember when I posted it, Lord. I said, "Hey, I've created these things. Who wants to sponsor me and help cover these costs?" And when I woke up, I had someone already saying, "Hey, I'll sponsor you for 2 months." And I said, "Yay." And then a few hours later, someone else who's actually in the chat, hi, Greg's brother, he said, "Hey, I'll cover you for another month." And I said, "Yay." And so when I got into this Google Play console developer background and it said, "You need to pay $25," I said, "I'm covered." Boom. And so I went ahead and paid that right before the show started, right after I got off the call with you, Juan. So that's paid for, and I don't have to stress over it. I don't have to be without socks. So we are good.
Yeah, the Casper community
These
always rallies around, right? And pitches in. So that's great that you're getting that support.
Yeah, these unexpected expenses. I mean, a lot of these I don't even realize until I've already built something. So, for instance, it was free to upload to Microsoft Edge to do an extension. It was free to upload to Firefox. It was free to upload to Opera to do these extensions. And I had already built it, and I thought, well, that's lame. And that's kind of the situation with this Google app. I made this app, I have it working, I have it ready to go, and I'm getting ready to publish it. And they're like, "Pay us money." I said, wait, what? So that's kind of a thing I need to maybe ask AI before I build something is what's this gonna cost to publish if I do it? Because those are things I didn't even think about. Never crossed my mind.
The feet.
So it's a learning.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a learning
I
experience
bet.
with this.
I bet. Well, it's great.
I'm
Yeah, it's
enjoying
great
it.
to get into your process and learn, what you're going through, what's happening there.
Yeah. So some of the ideas that I'd like to do. Um, Okay, so I'm thinking about ways to increase adoption, and I want Caspa to be seen and be accessible everywhere. And so I've been thinking about the things that I use on a daily or almost daily basis and where I don't see Caspa. And I think about how I want to put Caspa there. So I use my browser every day. I use my phone every day. So I want these extensions on there. I want apps. But I also build websites. I use WordPress. And WordPress, if you look for plugins, there's nothing that says Caspa. So I want to make a Caspa plugin so people can put a widget on their website and have Caspa information. I want to put this blockchain banter on Spotify. Um, I want to do a whole lot of things, but here's one of the problems I'm facing right now. I could not archive episode 14 of this because it went over 3 hours. We did 3 hours and 35 minutes, which had never been a problem previously. But the software I was using to convert it to an MP3 so I could turn it into a video so I could archive it on YouTube, the company put a limit. So now I couldn't archive it. So I'm going to try to maybe make a software that will do it for me without me using another company. So that might take time. And I don't even know if I can do it, but I'm going to try. And that'll allow me to go in that direction as well. um, because archiving these things is important. And if I can archive it just right, not only can we archive it on YouTube, we can put it on Spotify, we can put it on iTunes, and I'm expecting a power cord tomorrow or tonight to arrive for my Mac so I can build an app for the Apple Store, right? And the extension for Mac, I think it's Safari. I want to make some kind of extension for that. So I want to branch out and make it available, different things for as many things as possible because we really need that visibility. I don't like searching for something and finding Bitcoin and not seeing Caspa. That shit pisses me off. So anywhere I see Bitcoin and I don't see Caspa, that's where I want to build.
Yeah, there's definitely opportunity with building things out so that we get more visibility, and we got to go where people are at. And so it sounds like the package that you have, it just ran out of, like, you've used it up. Is that what it is? And why they won't let you? Because we had an episode
Well,
that went 4 hours and 44 minutes.
yeah. Oh,
That
yeah.
one's up, right?
And I paid, yeah, that's up. I had paid for a lifetime subscription, lifetime, so that I would never have to pay another fee. So I paid out the ass to be able to have a lifetime subscription. And at the time, there were no limits. And now there's a 3 hour limit. And I contacted the company and said,
Really?
hey, I want to archive episode 14. What happened? And they said, send us a link to your episode. So I sent them a link and then I haven't heard back, but at least they know that there's a problem. I don't know what the issue is, but if I have to try to build it myself, I'll try. I don't know how, but I will try to figure out a way. Because I get frustrated by these limitations. I mean, Caspa is scalable, and so should adoption. We should have adoption things that are scalable. That interests me. And so to run across these limitations and how we want to bring the message out, it's a limitation that frustrates me to no end. And I'm at this point, as long as I have AI and have help paying for that, and I have help until April 28th, I'm covered. I can knock out as many of these things as I possibly can. And that's what I'm going to try to do. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm doing. all the above.
There's a solution to every problem. That's one of the things I go back and forth with my son about. So we don't
I
we don't
like
we don't we
that.
don't get rattled about anything. So yeah, it sounds like you just be resourceful. Be resourceful and figure it out. So I have faith in you.
Hey, I'm a burner. I mean, I've done Burning Man. It's all about resourcefulness.
Exactly. Yes. It is. It 100% is.
Yeah. One thing that I'd like to share that I hope people find inspirational. When I used to go to Burning Man, when I say yellow burner, I don't know why I said that in past tense. I remember being in my tent and I had a sticker on the top of my tent that I would look at when I was laying on my air mattress, and it said, "What is your Burning Man project?" Because it had people think about what you were going to build. And I had this sticker up on my tent since 2011. And I would always think about, what do I want to build for Burning Man? And I approached Kaspa the same way. What is your Kaspa project? And if you think about Burning Man and Kaspa, everything inside of Burning Man is decentralized. It might be a centralized organization, but everything inside of it, when you're out there on the playa, it's all decentralized. And so when you're thinking about a project for that, it has you thinking about decentralization. And I've kind of applied that here, thinking about what can I do for Kaspa. Now, obviously, I don't have the know-how like Izio, who's here, who knows how to build in Kaspa. But one thing I can do and I know about is how to drive an audience. That's something I know how to do. I have a lot of experience with that. And what I'm trying to do is bring that audience to Kaspa outside of X and bringing some new ideas to that. And I don't have the coding experience, but I have some knowledge. And I'm going to start building that experience and just do my best to do. And
We do.
we don't have people doing this, which is surprising. I thought someone would be on it. I guess I'm that
You are
somebody.
that somebody. Yeah, you are. Well, I think there's a shift happening, and that's kind of been the energy that I felt from our last two episodes, specifically having the KII on and talking about where the energy needs to go within the community, right? And overall crypto, the sentiment's down, and yeah, we're the marketing team and we're getting a little bit more organized. We've had spaces on that. Like I held a space with we also went on YouTube for the first time and everything with Bishop on Monday, and it was really just having the conversation of, okay, where do we need to move this to, right? And you speaking as decentralization, right? Like this is, we're all in this to some extent to benefit ourselves, but the only way we benefit ourselves is if we serve the community, and
Yeah.
we ask, what can we do for Caspa, right? So that's really what this is leaning towards. And so it's awesome that you're putting your energy out there like that, Kara, and you're discovering this stuff and you're being resourceful and you're figuring it out. It's a great example. It's a great example to what any of us could do, right? If you get your energy in a creative mode, and you have no idea what you can come up with. So the cool thing about what you're sharing and where you're going with this, and I shared with you where I am before the call, but I'm back in this little, so I'm running this co-working office space, where I built my last business. So the last time I'm like literally here in this office. The last time I was here was probably 2019, right before COVID. It was like right when things were taking off. But like I'm going back to this energy of creating, of being in this space where, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? How can I serve? What can I create? And beautiful things happened here for 2 years, and I'm right back here in this little corner that I used to hang out in late at night, working as hard as I could to figure things out. So yeah, I think that's where we're at, Kara. I think we're in this space where it's about building, it's about moving things forward and being resourceful. That's where we are.
You know, one of your talents that I really like is that you are able to do a lot of word of mouth spreading to increase adoption. And I do poorly at word of mouth, but I am good at the tech side of it or the narrative building side of it and sharing it online. I've driven a lot of people that way, but you seem to have a knack of actually doing it in person.
Yeah, teamwork makes the dream
And
work.
that's really special.
Yeah,
It really is. It takes a
it
team to do
does.
this. It takes a lot of different ways of bringing it.
Yeah. It takes all of our individual talents. I know you gave props to Izio, but like even Izio says it. Like I'm going to read what has on us. He says, "I'm not great. I'm not good. I'm not even decent, but I'm trying out of curiosity." And he's like, yeah, he's so humble, right? And he's somebody that we all
Love
know.
that.
We all know, and it's that attitude. Like be humble. And one of the things I haven't said in a while, I don't think. Well, I say it at the end of every episode, right? Be humble, be kind, give it time. But when you come from that energy, it's like your gifts naturally, you discover what you're good at and you just go and do that. You mentioned how it was like when you were in school and kind of told what to do, and that's kind of the structure of the way that's set up. When you can come out here and be like, okay, you're in Caspa, there's this Caspathon, I'm going to sign up. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to sign up. That's a whole new energy that you're vibing in, and what you can create from that energy. Ooh, I can speak as an entrepreneur. That's the most beautiful energy to be in, and I like not knowing because I because I've experienced this before. It's kind of scary the first time you do it, but like I like not knowing what tomorrow is really going to look like. I like being in the energy of right now, and that's why it makes it, so yeah, one of the talents that I've developed is onboarding people, because I don't get caught up in what it's supposed to look like. I literally, I'll share a post tomorrow morning. I'm going to post it up, but I got all my yoga instructors onboarded. I gave them all 1,000 Kaspa, and I was like really emotional doing this, Kara, really, with the three of them, because obviously yoga has been a big part of my practice, my energy, my centering over the past year and a half. And I can do things with my body at 44 that I couldn't do at 24. And I'm so great. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for where I am physically, mentally, emotionally, and again to serve at this level. And I've been super fortunate. So it's about reciprocating what I've been blessed with, and really putting as much as this out there as I possibly can. And it's not even about me, right, or myself. That's the whole concept with decentralization. It's like when you come at it and realize, okay, yeah, it's going to benefit me, but the way I benefit me is by helping others with whatever I can do. So you mentioned Izio, Deb. We got Neo in here with what good to see you, Neo. It's been a while, buddy. I know you've been working really hard out there, so great to see your face in the space. But Neo with what he's doing with Better Melts, and how he talked about on earlier spaces that we would do months ago, and killing some of that FUD and whatnot. So yeah, everybody in here has, we've spoken about this. Everybody in here has their individual talents, and it's really, Chad said this on the space on Monday. It's like just go do it, just do it. Fall on your face. Don't get frustrated or throw your computer to the ground or break your computer. Right? Like you had to learn that in school. You knew
Yeah.
what was coming up. You had your expectations set properly. Just keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
I want to give a shout out to Neo as well. Neo, I know you've made those amazing better melts, and I just want to say there have been a number of times in the last 45 days specifically where I had severe insomnia, could not sleep. I had tried everything. I went to my happy place. I went in the dark. I tried blindfolds. Sometimes I have so much creativity in my mind, I cannot sleep because I have all these ideas. And I would take your dream melts, which you designed, and let me tell you, 100% of the time, it increases my sleep onset and knocks me the fuck out. So if anybody here is ever at a point where you just need that extra help to go to sleep, click on Neo's username. He's got a link in his bio to his better melts, and I'm telling you, the dream melts are amazing. And full disclosure, he did give me some for free, but he did not ask me to review them. He gave these to me probably 6 months ago, and I only hang on to them because I'm kind of a broke person here right now. I only use them in case of emergency when I cannot sleep. So I don't take it just to make me go to bed on any given night. I take these when I cannot sleep, and I still have some left. And let me tell you, these have been a lifesaver. So thank you, Neo, for making these, and I highly recommend them. And they're so cool. They dissolve in your mouth. So you just put it on your tongue. It almost tastes like a fruit roll up. It's got a tangy kind of taste to it. It dissolves, and then within minutes you're yawning and you just give up. You go to bed.
Yeah, so he also did the same with me. He shipped them out to me. I've just I'm trying to find out where I put them. So I did try a few of them. You know who also speaks really big on it is Bishop. Bishop's like been trying to get in touch with Neo. Neo's been a busy man. So yeah, good stuff. I'm gonna link it up here as well to get in touch with
Oh,
Neo.
good.
So that's what I was doing. That's
That's
why
a
I was
great idea.
silent there.
Yeah, sometimes it's tough when you're trying to sleep and you can't. I was up till 4 in the morning, but I wasn't trying to sleep last night. I was trying to finish this Google Play app, and I thought, oh, it's 4 in the morning. I'll go to bed now that I've finished I reached my limit with my allotments. I can't use any more prompts on this free version. They've cut me off for the night. So I went to bed thinking, okay, it's the perfect time to go to bed. And man, I need a real bedtime. I'm gonna have to work on getting that sleep schedule. I'm gonna have to work on that. I have to be an adult and start setting a bedtime. And I struggle with that because I love being awake.
Well, you got the brain firing, the creativity going. So sometimes it's hard to bring that down. Um,
It's hard. It's
that's
hard when you have all these
it
ideas and you see
is.
implementation
It
and you get
is.
all this high reward for getting through all the errors and you feel good and you want to keep
You
going and
do.
you're thinking I can say it's done and yeah.
Yeah, what I find works for me, I mean, I've been in this routine of physically exerting myself, as soon as I wake up. So I'm typically doing a yoga class or a workout. Not every day. Like I typically don't work out on Thursdays because we're up late on Wednesday nights. So I'm like, nah, I'm gonna sleep in a little bit on Thursdays. But you got to do, you're working out the mental part of it, but you also got to do the physical in some way, shape, or form. You can't skip that, and then that's how the body gets tired, and then when you're not aligned. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe Neo, if he wants to grab the mic and come talk to us a little bit more about how it benefits people if he wants.
Yeah. Or anyone if you want to join the panel, we'd love to connect with you. Izio, if you'd like to come up and talk about anything you're working on or just give us an insight into your mindset of building, all of that's really helpful. Casmi, obviously, we'd love to hear from you too. It looks like your trading card game in the NFT world is looking really cool. So we'd love to hear from you as well. If anyone wants to join, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. Just request and we'll give you guys the mic.
So someone named Cas BTC on Cas, that's their name. They created a 21 challenge Kaspa quiz game. Has anyone done that, or do you know anything about
Ooh,
that,
no,
Juan?
I haven't. I don't know. Tell us more.
So I haven't looked at it. I'm just reading their tweet, and it says, think you got what it takes to climb the leaderboard? Every day, 2 quizzes and a boss battle against Professor Cass BTC await you to test your brain cells. But beware, the professor will go easy on you. And it basically tests your knowledge of Kaspa.
That's
So
cool.
it's kind of interesting. If anyone is curious about that, go check out the user whose name is Cas. That's KAS BTC underscore KRC20. Cas BTC underscore KRC20.
Is it the
They've got a
is it the pin post?
yeah, they've got a let's see here. So the pinned post I see is Neo's product.
Oh no,
Let's
I'm
see
talking
here.
about
I'm
on
gonna
Cas BTC on Cas BTC underscore KRC20.
I'm gonna go ahead and post that in our chat. I'm not sure how to pin these exactly.
Yeah, if you post that in the chat, I'll pin it.
Perfect.
Sweet.
I have to do it from my computer, so hold on. Yeah, I just realized I haven't retweeted this chat. I need to do that. Okay, here we go.
I haven't either.
All right, so his quiz is now in the chat.
Okay, there we go. Sweet.
And what I like about that is it's just a simple game that gets people to think about what they already know about Kaspa. And it's creative. It's just another way to get people to feel involved. And even if somebody has never heard about Kaspa, there might be someone who takes a quiz just because. And even for those of us who feel we know a bit of things about it, it's good to test to see what we really know. Hey, Izio is a speaker. All right.
Yeah.
Hello, guys. Can you
Thank
hear me?
Yes, we can. Great to
Hey,
have you up, brother.
Yeah, good to have you too. How are you?
Doing great, great. Good to see you, man.
great to hear from you. Thanks for joining the panel.
Yeah, it was pleasure. Always a pleasure to share what I'm working on, and yeah, it's always great to see you. I've been hearing you a few times here. It's 4 a.m. here, but I'm still awake, so this time is the good time.
It's 4 a.m. where you're at. Ah.
That's late. That's later than we've had Rory on the past 2 weeks, and it's been like 1 a.m.
Wow.
So wow, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm in France.
Incredible. What are you working on, Izio?
So currently I'm working on, so let's start with covenant. For those who don't know, it's just a big word to say, okay, now we will be able to enforce rules into the future in the transaction. And I'm building a covenant that is a native asset on the L1, on Kaspa. So this is more or less a protocol at this stage. It's still a proof of concept, but hopefully at the end, you will be able to deploy a token on DL1 with this or a variant of this. So that's mainly what I'm working on currently.
Are you doing this straight from your head, or do you have AI tools and things that help you? Is this something that can be done alone? I don't know how this works.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. For example, in the crypto ecosystem with Bitcoin, and for example, there is this CAT, C-A-T, CAT protocol that defines a covenant to make native assets. So we started by studying this protocol to understand how it works. And it's a very good starting point. at least it was a very good starting point for me. And so with the help of Ori Newman, he is also named someone on Discord. He helped me to understand this protocol and how we could do it on Kaspa. This protocol has some inconvenience. For example, it needs to rely on parent and grandparent lineage, let's say. So in order to make a transaction with my token, I have to prove it is coming from a parent and a grandparent. Otherwise, the transaction could be forged. So, so Hori and Michael has this brilliant idea of a covenant ID, which now is a new attached to your transaction when you want to operate a covenant, and it removes basically the need to include the parent and grandparent transaction, which simplifies a lot to write the said covenant. Now, when it comes to AI, I used it to research some aspects to gain some time. Like I would use Google, for example. Now I can also use AI, and yeah, it was interesting on some topics. Now, when it comes to writing code for this particular thing, it wasn't very effective because the script syntax is quite unique, or maybe not well known by the AI. I'm not sure what I'm saying, but at least from my trials and errors, it wasn't very great at writing code here. But yes, I used AI for the research aspect, a bit for the documentation too. When I had this token covenant that was working and I was satisfied with its state, I created what we call a README, which is basically an overview of the project, and I use AI for this, yeah.
What happens when you get an error involving something that you have no clue about and AI doesn't know how to fix it? What's your process?
It depends on the context, but trying to give a general idea here, you need to know what you're doing. That's the first step. You need to exactly know what the code you wrote is doing. You need to analyze it and make some assumptions, like, okay, maybe this variable, for example, I assumed it will be hit, but it's not. And so you start to get a mental stack, let's say, of the different possibilities. And you also have some tools that you could use. For example, there is a powerful tool that many use. It's a debugger. So when I start the debugger, I can run my code in parallel, and I can stop it at any line I want. So in my code editor, I click on the line I want to make the code stop at this stage. And the debugger can tell me the content of each variable, and I can jump from here step to step. Like every line, I can now execute step by step and see what's going on. So that's one of the tools that is very, very useful. I'm still not very good at using it, but with some practice, it starts to feel natural. So that mainly it is, but then you just, when you identify the problem, you may want to find a proper solution now. And maybe it was a design choice that you make that was bad. Maybe you just didn't make the validation properly at first. But anyway, at the end, you learn that it often is a human mistake. So yeah, that's how it goes usually.
Is Debugger a standalone program or is it an extension? And it's kind of a two-part question. What kind of software are you using, and is the AI built into it? And which ones are they? Or is it? I don't know if it's singular or plural.
So I was used to use Linux and have this weird and old code editor called Vim. And you know, there is the joke between developers is that when you first open this Vim, you don't know how to exit it because you have to press the semicolon, type Q, and write enter, which is basically means, okay, I now want to run a command, type Q for quit, and execute the command. So yeah, that's what I used to use, and now I'm trying to use some more modern tools. For example, I use the IDE, which is called Zed. I like to see it as an evolution to VS Code. It's purely written in Rust, and it doesn't take that much RAM to run, and it's very fast to open. It also comes with all of the developers tool you would expect from a code editor, but now you don't have to install all of the extension for each of the language you're working on. So yeah, Zed really is a great IDE now. For the other software, I'm using, so this is kind of niche, but let's just mention it for the sake of it. I use a tool that is ngrok. It's to open local services that you're running to the internet without exposing your IP. So that's great. For example, if I run Kaspa node, I could run this ngrok, share the endpoint to someone, and this someone can access my Kaspa node without him having my IP address. That's something great. And yeah, I mainly use a code editor as a software. A bit of, I like to, I think we are all built differently, and my way of explaining concept is with diagram or drawing. So I use this tool that is called Excalidraw. It's a website, and you can draw boxes, text, line, arrows, and you can make some sort of mental model that is adapted to you. So I use that quite a lot too, yeah. And
can you DM me these?
Sorry.
Can you DM me these softwares and things when you're? Can you let me know how to spell these and look these up, or put it in the chat so that we can all see? Because I didn't want to interrupt you, but I've never heard of these things you're mentioning, and I want to make sure I can research them later.
Yeah, I will write them right after. Sorry, I'm on the phone. It's quite messy here, but yes, I will write them as a comment. Is it what you've asked? Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I will write them. No problem. And about because you mentioned the AI, I use this, so Zed, which is the code editor I use, integrates a panel that where you can integrate a model of your choice. It has basically two operating modes. The first one, which I prefer, is the autocomplete one. So, sorry. So the first one is the autocomplete. So you start to write a line, and it offers you the most appropriate based on probability and whatever. But and sometimes it's good. Even often it's good. And the other one is vibe coding panel, let's say. So it opens, instead of being in an external software or a terminal, you can stay in this code editor. It opens this small box, and you can chat with the model you like Claude or Codex or Gemini, whatever you prefer, but it has some agentic coding capabilities, which is also great.
Do you have a preference between Claude and Gemini? Because I saw them listed as options in anti-gravity, and I used both of them, but I'm curious if you think there's one that's better than the other.
So a first disclaimer I want to say is that things are moving very, very fast. 3 years ago, I was in a company building a recommendation system based on AI, and we were constantly changing model like every 2 months because one was better now for our use case. So what's better now will not be in 6 months, that's for sure. It's moving very, very fast. A lot of energy and money is spent on making these things better. So yeah, and so I would say the 3 or 4 major today are Codex, Mistral, Gemini, and Claude. Sorry, that's the 4 major one I've tried, and the result were good. When it comes to code discovery, purely like you enter in a code base and you want to ask question, you don't know where to start, I would recommend Codex today. I think it has this capability to search by string by default, and when you enter a prompt, what it will do by default is searching the code base and try to gather as much context as it needs. So for research or questions, I think Codex is really, really great. Gemini, I used it, but it was 6 months ago, so it may be outdated what I'm saying about it. It was very great for starters, like you want to scaffold an application and get some architecture or like a starter. It was really interesting and effectively fast and with good trade-offs. It was fast, quite good. You still need to stop it when it starts to do weird things. Sometimes I experienced that agentic model were trying to satisfy you, and sometimes it does too many things. I constantly need to tell it to stay keep it simple. Otherwise, I end up with a bunch of things I didn't want it. Maybe it will be good in 3 months in my project, but I don't want it now. Now my project version 1 is simple. I don't want it to be complicated. At least that's my view. About Devstral, which is the model of Mistral, what I like the most is that it's open source. And I think it's one of the only to keep every model they make open source. I'm obviously biased with it because it's from France, so just a note. But yeah, it's also a good one. Definitely not the best today, but keep an eye on it. It might be the best one day. And Claude Code, so I only used it a very few times. It's not because it's not good, just because it takes a lot of time to master and to like tame, let's say, a model. So I just didn't put enough energy. So just my few words, it's tough with it. But I'm not an expert. I cannot comment more than that.
I gotta say, I love Claude, and I used it to build most of the extensions that I did, but I was using Visual Code with it. So I was using Visual Code and Claude together. And then when I ran out of Claude, I used Gemini. When I ran out of Gemini, I used GitHub Co-Pilot.
Mm.
And when I ran out of that, I went to sleep. There's so many limitations on these. Juan, I realize I'm coming in and asking questions. I don't want you to feel I'm stepping on you.
No,
So
no,
feel
this
free
is your
to
lane.
say
This is your lane.
something.
I'm cool with being a fly on the wall with this conversation. So
Okay, cool. I want to be respectful and considerate, and this is something where I have a lot of questions I want to ask
yeah.
Izio, but I also don't want you to feel that I'm steamrolling
No, no,
either.
we're good. We're definitely good.
All right, cool. So Izio, I heard Zed, and then there was one that I couldn't pronounce, so I'll be looking for that one. And then you're saying you thought Claude was good, but you just don't have a lot of experience with it. And there's a few other ones that you mentioned I haven't heard of. I'm definitely going to try out. And then there was one software you mentioned that has Rust built into it. And that got me thinking about Rust for a second. If I wanted to test and build something with Rust that isn't going to touch the Kaspa protocol, what would you recommend could be built with Rust outside of Kaspa that would benefit Kaspa?
That's a good one. So I mentioned the tool ngrok earlier, which is to open a local service to the internet without sharing your IP. And so basically, ngrok is a proprietary software. I cannot self-host it. I need to pay a subscription to their services. So I was like, okay, this shouldn't be that complex to make. I should at least try to achieve the basic need I have, because ngrok does many things, and I'm just using a small use case here. Maybe I can just do this one. And so, because I'm not that experienced with Rust, I was like, okay, let's do it in Rust, just because I can, and it will help me understand some more deeper concepts. So I started with Rust, and it was at some point in this project, it was quite obvious it was the ideal choice. Rust community is it's a big ecosystem. Many developers love Rust today, and I think it's one of this language where you can reunite both low-level language system like C and C++ and more higher-level language like JavaScript or Python, because I think like me, when you have done like 15 years of JavaScript, at some point, you're so frustrated with so many aspects of the language, and then you try something like Rust, and many features of Rust really are simplifying the way you think about software. For example, in Java, you would design this like everything is a class. So you design it in terms of object. You think about objects in your system and you present them, each one of them. And it's called OOP, Oriented Object Programming. But Rust kind of is that. You kind of represent object, but you're closer to data. I would describe it as data-driven development. You just think about the data, not necessarily the object. So, okay, sorry. Back to the question now. So, what will benefit Kaspa with Rust? It may be this small tool I made to expose your local services, and maybe like today, if you want to host a node and you want to make it public, maybe you don't want to show your IP. That's a fair reasoning. And so maybe you could use this small tool I made or any other one that does the same job, so that you now can make your node public without exposing your IP, if that's a concern you have. So yeah.
So let me make sure I heard this right. You developed, did I hear that you developed that proprietary one where it hides the IP? You made that, right?
Maybe just in a few words, there is this proprietary software that you could use and pay a subscription, and it does many things. One of the things is hiding your IP while still exposing a local service like a Kaspa node. And so I develop uniquely that, and it allows you to now make your Kaspa node public without exposing your IP. It's still it's not even public yet, but it will be in a few weeks, hopefully.
Wow. So this is something you're working on. This is what's coming out soon. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what we're hearing?
Yeah, on the weekend, on my free time. I never stop.
That's so cool.
I never stop. Like, I'm always in Kaspa, like every day, doing things around Kaspa, and developers usually have their side projects. And before I worked on the L1 purely, I used to have these side projects like Cassia or other ones. And now I'm trying to learn Rust, so I switched, let's say, my personal projects. I'm still doing many other things, but yeah, that's one of them.
So since you're part of Core now and KEF is funding you, are they also funding you to do these projects that interest you? And you say, hey, there's this thing I want to do. Are they covering that, or are they just covering what they tell you to do?
So the way it works for me, I will speak for me purely because I don't know how it works with the others, grantee. So Juni, sorry, I don't know how to say in English, basically told me, okay, we are funding you to purely work on Kaspa L1, but we never interfere. And they were very clear from the start. And I could have been suspicious at first, but it's really true. Like, they never interfere. And let's say my boss, if you would say, is Michael Reddy. So Michael gives the priorities, and I work on this said priorities, and that's part of my work time. So KEF is funding me for my work time, and then, like everybody on earth, I hope, or at least everyone should have some day off. On the day off or the time off, I work on a side project, but still around Kaspa. Today, it has been more than 1 year and a half I'm here. Everything I develop is around Kaspa already.
Okay, that's really good to know. How do you, okay, so this is where I need some clarification because this is a point of confusion for me. So you're building something that's going to hide an IP with when you're doing a public node, and you're also being paid to do the stuff that's on the L1. How do you know if what you're doing is on the L1? Is it all about pushing to that on GitHub and it being something that's only on the L1? What defines it as being on that if you're building? I don't even know how to form the question.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. So maybe building on L1 is a poor way I said it. Sorry. Maybe what's best is core, and core basically is the central point that that is common to every actor on the network. And for example, when I'm building this Covenant proof of concept, it's impacting everyone in a sense that it first shows an example on how to build a covenant. So many, like others, developer can maybe learn from it and try to experiment a bit faster than if there was no extensive examples. That's for one. But also, it could be used. Like, I could use this covenant and effectively deploy a token. So, yeah, I would say that, for example, this tool that is hiding your IP isn't core at all. It's like a tool that a part of the ecosystem could use, but this tool could also be used for other things. For example, when I'm testing the tool, I'm hosting a Cassia instance on my local computer, and I try to expose it online. And so this tool is more generic. It's not specific to Kaspa, for example.
Okay, I have another one. Okay, so this is a covenant, this thing that you're doing, I'm picking up on that. If I were to go into AI and put a prompt in here, and hopefully everyone in here listening can learn from this, because then we could all do it if this is the case. But could we just say to AI, build me a covenant on the L1 of Caspa? Would it give me a starting point? Is that how simple it starts?
So there's two things. I will start with answering the question this time. Yes, I think that if we build a significant amount of examples in different cases, there should be, and I would like to see a world where you open your favorite AI and you tell it, okay, I want to build a covenant. For example, that's just an example. I want to build a covenant that allow me to hold my Kaspa up until, let's say, Kaspa price is above this threshold. This is called a vault or a odal zone, I think. Odal vault, maybe. It's a common example that other chains build. Like on Bitcoin, I think you have this covenant, but it cannot work, as far as I know, on Bitcoin, because they refuse to include these opcodes. You know, it was a topic they had. Like, should we include these opcodes to the engine script? And I think they mostly said no. In Kaspa, like, these opcodes were included in a few days, like already built them. It was tested, reviewed, and it was merged. And that's it. You now have this new opcodes. It was very fast, really. That's also one of the things I love in this project in Kaspa. We're actually embracing the change. We're embracing innovation, and it's going fast. I think it may also be because of the culture. We all want to do things, change things, be somehow disruptive, maybe, for some of us. So yeah, that's one thing. So back to the question, yes, I hope that one day you could open the model and ask to build a covenant. But I also want to emphasize the fact that I would recommend to understand what it does at some point, because it's easy to introduce a flow here. It's easy to introduce vulnerabilities or edge case that you didn't think of.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, right? Because anything that you do, okay, so this is the other part to that question. If you build covenants and it's L1, does that interfere with the protocol?
It does not interfere with the protocol. So the covenant just is a code that is executed when you're spending the transaction. So for example, Cara, I would send you $1, for example, on Kaspa as a token. So I send, it is an UTXO that I send you, and this UTXO contains the logic that allows or disallow you to spend it. So it doesn't interfere. It's just that it executes a script, and the script say yes or no. Can you, yes or no, can I spend this UTXO? Yes or no. It just is a small script that is executed when you try to spend a transaction.
I see. So these are basically scripts and opcode, so it has nothing to do with it being interfering with the protocol, and it's distinguished different than a smart contract. It's a script. So I'm assuming that you would put the script on a web page or something, click a button, and it would run using the L1 and then spit out a yes or no, right?
Yeah, that could be it. So you click the button, it creates a transaction with this UTXO that contains the script. You send the transaction to a node that takes it into the mempool, spread it amongst other nodes. A miner pick the transaction, it includes it in a block, and it sends it to other node. And the script is executed at that stage. And so the transaction is invalid if the script fails. For example, it said, no, you cannot spend, or the transaction is accepted and start to get confirmed if the script said, yes, you can spend it.
I think we lost you, Izio. I can't hear you anymore.
Oh.
Can anyone hear Izio? Oh wait, yeah, we got you back.
Oh, sorry. Where did I stop?
You were saying that it can be used as a script on a page, and then it'll tell you when you can, when you've reached that price you can buy or
Yeah, just let's say the script is executed every time you send a transaction containing this script. And yeah, it is executed every time, and it's now the authority. The script is the authority, or whether or not you can spend the UTXO. The basic script, when you create a transaction, so because it contains a script by default, the script checks that you signed the transaction and that you effectively own the private key that allows you to spend this UTXO. Now you can modify this basic script to add some logic of your choice, and this way you can create some sort of smart program, but it's not as powerful. Like you're limited in terms of what you can do with this method, but it's fast, it's on L1, and it's not abstracted. Like everyone can discover your script, inspect what's in there, and yeah, so it's more direct, it's more native, but you're limited at some stage.
let's assume that any of us here builds a covenant using AI. Would you have a recommendation for which software people should put it through when they're done that can look for vulnerabilities before saying, hey, this is the authority?
I would say a good methodology would be to start with making unit tests. Like you ask the AI to make unit tests that test inputs that are considered invalid. For example, again, in this token covenant, you would ask the AI to write a test that effectively tests the fact I cannot send more token than what I have. It makes this test that is runnable, and if it passes, for example, I try to spend 2 while I only pass only when it fails. So yeah, it's the test pass when it fails. And I think it's maybe the first things to do. It's not to use an external software, but just create the test that make the script broken. And there are many ways to make the script broken. For example, a basic transaction to try to let's say test this basic case. I will try to spend a transaction while I'm not owning this UTXO. So for example, Cara, I would take one of your UTXO, sign it with my private key, and try to spend this transaction. And it will always fail because I'm not you. I don't have your private key. And I will write this test. And it should fail when it's good. And I think that's maybe the first thing to do. Try to cover every edge case and negative case. And once you have this, you already have, let's say, a strong assumption about the validity of the script, of any program, really. Once it's done, it might be good to ask for a peer review with another human being, because they will see your code as fresh while you were on it since a week, maybe, or maybe more. So it's always good to share it to other people, get feedback, and maybe they will see something you didn't. And I personally, today, I don't believe AI is good in auditing security, but that's maybe just because I'm not using it correctly, but to my small experience in that field, the AI sometimes take some shortcuts that may seem good, but it was not. I have some example that I have, but one of them was when I first tried to vibe code things. At some point in any application, you want some level of authentication, so you ask the AI to do the authentication, and effectively it was validating. Like after I asked it to write it, I inspect the code, and I realized that anyone could forge a token, so anyone could log into my website, basically. And yeah, so I think maybe today it's better, maybe there's some way to get around it, but nothing beats an expertise. And when you're dealing with very sensitive programs, such as token or money, you want at some stage to have an expert, or maybe not an expert, but someone that goes line by line and asking themselves the right question, I believe.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Something like that, I would want to push off to an expert and say, "Can you look at this?"
Yeah, sure. That's a great way. And there are people here, and I'm one of them, that will gratefully try to help you and give at least a feedback. I think, yeah, we can lend hands each
Very
other.
generous of you. Thank you for offering that. Yeah, I might have to take you up on that. This is really interesting. I would love to try this, and just knowing you're willing to look at it, because I don't want to put something out that creates problems. I want to create solutions. So that's really cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I will even go a bit further. That's also why I love open source. It's because, like, you put your thing online and anyone now is allowed to review or see or execute themselves. They can see what's going on. And there are numerous times when I posted code online and people start to comment on it. And yeah, open source is one way of getting many public feedback. Open auditability is great.
Is there anyone that wants to join the panel and ask Izio anything while he's here and answering our questions and educating us on this? If anyone wants to join the panel, you're more than welcome. I know I've been asking a lot of questions, but I don't want to hog the panel either. So if anyone wants to hop on up and request to speak, feel free to do so. Juan, do you have any thoughts on all this that Izio is saying?
I'm a fly on the wall. We're good. No, it's
That's what Onion
yeah,
says.
that's where I got it from. That's where I got it from. So no,
He'll love
obviously
that.
I've never built or developed, so some of the stuff that you guys are talking about, I will admit is over my head. But I'll listen back to this and and like I mentioned earlier, I built a breakdancing website back in 2002, and it took me 2.5 months. And I remember my professor saying, "Are you sure you want to do this? What do you?" But it was it was a really good website. So, anyways, yeah, I'll have to listen back to catch everything. But yeah, this is your world, so this is cool. This is cool to have up here, and I'm sure there's people in the crowd there that are getting a lot from it.
I hope so. It's great, and I'm sure your breakdancing site was good. Is your breakdancing site still up?
No, it isn't. It was up until like the late. It was up until like 2010, 2011. Not sure what happened to it.
Oh.
So yeah, I graduated college in '03. So, but I got an A on it. I got an A on it.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
good.
My professor was surprised. He's like, I didn't think that would be that interesting. But I went all the way back. I talked about like James Brown had a lot to do with that culture, and yeah, that's a whole nother story. But yeah. Uh,
I have another question for Izio, if that's okay. Izio, you were saying that there is a big community for Rust and that there's a lot of people in open source community that answer questions. My question is, if I wanted to join these community source and all of that, where would you recommend would be a good place for me to kind of just go and be a fly on the wall?
So the first thing I would recommend is whatever you have in mind, whatever you want to try to develop, just do it. Just open the text editor, do some research, use AI or not, depends on what you want what aspect you want to cover, and just try to do it. Start yourself. I've started like I was 12 when I started coding. It was not a breakdance website, but it was a plumber website of a friend of my father. And that's basically how I started to code. It's like, okay, I use a lot of websites. Let's do one for the plumber. And so it wasn't totally disinterested because he offered me, I think, $5 back then for making it. So, but it was really interesting to just start and face basically every wall. And it was a crappy website. It was really really bad, but it taught me a lot. And it also showed me that, okay, with a computer, you can do a lot of things. And I was playing Minecraft back then, I think, or some other games. And now I could build websites. And like 1 year after, I was playing again Minecraft, and I wanted to play with my friend, but we didn't have a server, and server was really expensive. So I started to host a server on my computer. And then I realized that when my computer is off, my friend couldn't play anymore. So I started to research and see that, okay, you can rent a server, host your Minecraft server there. And then we wanted to add some plugins or mods because we wanted to have some great things these other servers add. So I researched, installed plugins, and start to see there are configuration files that you need to edit to fit your needs. But then it's not enough. You need to, the plugin didn't think about your use case. So you start to read documentation and realize that, oh, I need to write a plugin. Okay, so I will find out how to write a plugin. And you Google that, you found Stack Overflow, GitHub, all of these platforms that host code or communities, and you start asking questions, see others people plugin that you can clone, edit, and run yourself, so you can learn a lot. And then back then, I think it was TeamSpeak, like the major thing to speak online with geeks. So I joined this community on TeamSpeak. They were all coders on Minecraft. Start to speak with them, and they teach me a lot. So yeah, all of this just to say that start somewhere, face every problem that everyone face, and never stop. Like, be curious, never stop. It will not be easy every day, but when you achieve what you wanted to do, it's so satisfying, and it's the way you want it to be. You're the only person to blame if it's not good or not this way. And yeah, so if you want to start, just start somewhere. Just run the editor, start making some research, use AI if you want. But there are some communities, for example, on Rust, there is a strong community on Discord. There also is a strong community on Stack Overflow, even though it's less used today than it was 10 years ago, but it still is a well-known platform when you can find a lot of things. So yeah, there are some communities in every platform, I would say. And yeah, just start somewhere.
Thank you for that. That's a lot of helpful information. I know a lot of us are getting a lot from that. 16-bit, I had seen that you had requested to be a speaker, and I clicked accept, but for some reason it didn't put you on the panel. Oh, there you are. It shows you were a speaker. Can we hear you?
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah,
Oh,
welcome.
appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. I just I saw Izio div here, and I'm a huge fan of Cassia, and I've really been trying to push everybody to try to start using it more and more. And I just had a couple of questions. You know, I apologize if it was already addressed, or I missed a huge chunk of the first part of this. I just kind of wanted to ask a few general questions in regards to, I guess, the roadmap, or the general future of the app itself. Like, what are some of the planned features? I talk to a lot of people, and I hear a lot of people mention group chat. I think that's a big feature that everybody is always requesting. Another one would be notifications, and I was just curious, like, what's on the horizon? You know, what's being planned, what's being worked on, what are some of the hurdles that you're having to overcome to achieve some of these things.
Hello, thanks a bit. Yeah, so the roadmap, like, we don't really have a roadmap, to be honest. We have some contributors, like mainly 2 to 3 today, and they just do the things they want. Like Cara, we said earlier, just start somewhere. These guys are amazing. They always start the things they want to see. But strong objectives, if we could say, it's always been on the, like, noted somewhere, or everyone speak about it. You mentioned it, notification and group chat and iOS application, for example. At this stage, I have less time to put in Cassia. I'm mainly the bottleneck today to this development. We have someone that is named Ernie or Ocus Locust on X, yeah, is doing an incredible job. And so he has a few pending pull requests with a bunch of features. For example, having formatted text, like rich text. You can write, like insert links, for example, write titles, stuff like that. I think we are used to such a feature. And yeah, he also developed very recently real encrypted group chat. And I still haven't had the chance to see the implementation details, but I've spoken with him a bit. And it's really is what we wanted to create. He did it himself without the help of almost anyone. When we stopped this discussion, it was at the research state. We linked some papers, like white papers and specification and stuff. And this guy just did it after some weeks of many work, I believe. But yeah, so back to the initial question. There's no clear written roadmap, but we have some objectives with group chat, iOS application, so the rich text. Notification is a bit more complicated. Maybe I will say a word about it. But yeah, all of these features will be coming. We don't know when. It depends on us, basically. But if anyone wants to join, even just to chat, give feedback or exchange ideas, or even just hang around and talk, just join the Discord. And yeah, many people here already, so please join. And about notification is a bit more complex. Traditional applications have a central server which can see every events in a system, so they are able to detect things and trigger notification. Cassia is a bit different. It has no central authority or central point. You, as a user, you would have to trust a system that will be like, you will give it some information, so you will lose a bit of privacy in order for the system to know when you receive a message, because by default, the system, like, not even by default, like, anyone cannot know when you send a message, when you send or receive the message. So, and to whom. So yeah, you would have to leak a little bit of privacy to this trusted system. It will still be allowed to be self-hosted, and for the sake of the UX, we also will be hosting a public service for it, because not everyone wants or even can host a service like this. So notification is, we need to make some trade-offs. It's not very clear what we really want to do. For example, if you're used to Signal, I think by default, it doesn't tell you, when you receive a notification, by default, it tells you you received a message, but you don't see the content or the sender by default, I believe. And this kind of trade-offs is really important. Like, do we need to inform the sender in the notification, or just saying, okay, new message and nothing else? Is it enough? Like, there are some topic to cover here too.
Right. Yeah, that would be my personal preference, honestly. I don't mind. I would just like to have a notification that I got a message. What the message is kind of irrelevant. It's just the constant having to go back and open the application and log in to see if I got a message. It would just be a little bit more convenient to see that I got one without having to actually log in. But yeah, that's just my own personal input. But love what you're doing, man. I really appreciate it. It's an amazing application. I can't give you enough kudos.
Oh, thank you very much. But I will prefer first for Ernie to get the credits of it, and then I will take maybe the little rest. But yeah,
For sure.
Ernie, yeah, really is an amazing contributor. He's been around Kaspa for a while. Is spending all of his like most of us, we're spending most of our free time to Kaspa and this community, and he is one of us, I can tell you.
Yeah, I am in the Discord. I've had a little back and forth with Ernie. He seems to be a really good guy.
I'm posting some new things that I think would be interesting for people listening. Um, I'm posting them in the chat. There are a couple updates I just want to bring up so we can kind of know some new things that are happening with Kaspa, with our block DAG, what's being built on it. Kaspa.com has released the mobile wallet. They have a mobile wallet now. It's live on the mainnet beta, and we can send, receive, and trade Kaspa, KRC, 20 tokens, NFTs, and domains with the open source Kaspa.com wallet. Now, normally people have to connect a wallet, and we would use something such as Casware, which is an external wallet that's on a browser or something like that. But now Kaspa.com has their own wallet, and that is live, and it's a mobile wallet. So I want to try that out. It's on the mainnet, but it says it's beta, so just keep that in mind. They may have updates. I posted this in the chat so we can see it. And also, for anyone here or anyone who listening on playback, on recording, if you have a business or an online website and you're looking to sell products, services, something for your business, you can use Kasparow Pay. They have a merchant dashboard. Any website can now become a store. You can customize your payment buttons. And there's Kasparow Connect, which is you can connect your wallets and your social login in one button. I think that's really, really cool. There's some really interesting things going on right now. But those are two. And then also, I'm going to post one more. So just give me a minute. I'm going to go look up this other one I wanted to mention. I know that, was it Casway created a different one. So the user here is Banana. He created some new stuff for commerce. So I'm going to go find that and I'll put that in the chat real quick.
We still live?
Yeah, we're still
Okay.
live. Feel free to talk while I'm looking up this link for
16
everybody.
bit. I'm sorry I didn't reply to your message. I went ahead and replied to you. Um, apologize. It's taken me 5 days. We do need
No worries,
notifications.
dude. No worries. Hey, I did hear you mention James Brown. I'm a huge James Brown fan, so there's
Yeah,
that as
man.
well.
Yeah, when I shared that this is back in 2002. It was my junior year in college. But I built a breakdancing website, and
Okay.
it originated back with like the b boys and all that. I was not a breakdancer. I wanted to be one, but I'm not that I wasn't that coordinated. I just thought they looked cool. But yeah, going back and doing the research on it, I found out that it's been inspired by seeing James Brown and that footwork that he would do. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
so he was a big part of the history and all that on the
Yeah,
website.
absolutely, man. I'll be 42 next month, and when I was in junior high, in the mid to late 90s, junior high, high school, there was a really big resurgence of breakdancing where I'm from, and I'm very familiar with breakdancing. And like you, I wasn't very coordinated, but I'm I'm a huge fan of the community, and yeah, it's a great history, man. There's a
Yeah,
lot to it.
my buddies were really good at it. My brothers were amazing at it, and I would just sit in the background, and be like, man, wish I could do that. I'm Latin. I can salsa, merengue, all that stuff. That's a whole different. That's in my blood. But some of these acrobatics, I guess the evolution of it has been I don't know if you're familiar with like the Jabberwockies and like that type of
Yeah,
stuff. So.
I'm in Vegas, man.
Oh yeah, that's right. You are. That's right. You are in Vegas, so that's the
Yeah.
Jabberwockies all over there for sure.
Yeah,
Um.
but we used to all hang out, dude, and they'd throw down the big piece of cardboard and
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
spinning around, and
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're about the same age. I'll be 45 this year, but yeah, I'm 44.
yeah.
That was our time, no doubt.
I want to share this real quick. I want to share this amazing tool. I don't know if people are aware of it. This tool I'm about to talk about was created by the user whose name is Here is Banana. He had previously been one of the co-founders or co-partners of Casway, which was a physical device you could take to, for instance, a donut shop and accept Kaspa, accept crypto right there at the point of sale. Well, he has ventured into online point of sale to make things basically future ready. And so he has a website. I want to plug it, onchainpos.live. And I've put this in the chat so anyone can click on it. But I just want to mention what it is and what it does, because this is huge for businesses and people wanting to start businesses or start accepting Caspa and crypto payments online. So what this is, it's a way for people to accept money online. You can do crypto payments. It's got staff management, workstations, analytics, table management. There's payment terminals, e-commerce integration, and there's a demo that you can try right on the site. And they do more than just Caspa, right? So this covers the full blockchain, not just block DAG. So this can do Caspa, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Sol, all that. It's non-custodial, goes direct to your wallet. So you can sell your tennis shoes, or you can sell some new products, new shirts, or something like that, and get the money directly to your wallet. There's a restaurant mode. So if you have a restaurant and you want to start accepting Caspa, there's a system in here in the dashboard that allows you to manage tables. There's customer displays for payment terminals. There's workstations so you can have multiple device support. And if you have a setting in there for staff hierarchy where you can set your owner, your manager, your staff, you can set this up with your local business. So you're talking retail stores, restaurants, cafes, bars, pubs, supermarkets, pop-up shops. And there's there's a section on the site where you can look at the pricing. They have a free pricing. You can do a pay-as-you-go where it's free. And when I say free, what you're really paying for is no monthly commitment. You don't pay a startup fee, nothing like that. The only thing you're really kind of paying for is not something you're paying for, but they would get a 0.5% per crypto transaction. That's kind of how they're making the money on the free version. But there's a lifetime access right now, and it's limited time. So if you pay $100, you don't have to pay any monthly fee ever, and it's free forever. So you pay $100 one time, pay one time, and then you have 0 transaction fees. So I would go that route, but they have some other subscription fees ranging from $8 to $18 a month. So you can do subscription, you can do a hybrid, you can get a 0.25% transaction per one if you want to go in that route. But if you don't want to be charged for, if you don't want to have to pay any transaction fee, they do have a lifetime access for a limited time. I do want to just mention that that's onchainpos.live. They have a very affordable program. This is something I'm probably going to look into for selling my dad's books. He's written a lot of books. I'd love to be able to accept Kaspa to sell them and stuff like that. My son has a collection of hundreds of comic books. I want to put this on Kasmi's website. He has this whole marketing. Juan, maybe you could even find the link to that and put that in the chat or pin it, because we were talking about that earlier too.
Hasmart
But
stuff,
we can
right?
sell things.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kasmart. So these are ways where people can sell new or used things and get paid in Kaspa, get paid in your crypto of choice, so to speak. So I just wanted to plug this. I think this is brilliant. I looked at the video that Banana made where he showed what the dashboard looks like in the back end, and it blew my mind. I've never seen anything with this much integrations for Caspa, for business. It's the best thing I've ever seen for this. I just can't say enough about it.
Yeah, it's exciting what's being built and what's out here for us to start accepting Caspa. So I'm gonna go ahead and link that. Give me just a second while I'll put that up. And I see we've been joined by, it looks like Rory. Rory must have gotten a nap in, but we got Rory on stage from the Caspa KII. Welcome, Rory. Did you get
Hi
a nap
guys.
in? Did you sleep a little bit before?
Yeah, I had a nice little nap.
Okay. Okay.
That always helps keep the the brain cells firing.
Absolutely. Super critical and important. We need the rest.
What have I missed?
Well, Kara stayed up all night coding, and she didn't get a lot of rest last night. And we've had Izio Dev up here sharing his knowledge and gone back and forth with Kara.
Well done, Cara, on shipping something and actually getting it out there.
Thank you. Well, it still needs to be published, but I did submit them, so I've done my part. I'm looking forward to this. Thank you for the encouragement.
That's nice to see. It really is. First coding language I learned was BASIC on a Commodore VIC-20. If anybody remembers
That's
those.
old school.
That's very old school. Um, we weren't lucky enough to have a floppy drive in our house, so you used to have to wait for everything to you'd have to type in everything and then press record on a cassette player and then try and save your code on a music cassette. And that's how we used to do it. And we used to get if you couldn't afford to go, definitely in Ireland, you couldn't afford to go and buy games or buy apps. So you would get these big thick books, and you would hand type all of the code in BASIC, and then save it to a cassette tape and pray that it didn't fail during the recording.
Wow. So that's how I shared earlier too, Rory, that I built a website when I was in college, my junior year, a breakdancing website. Um, that I got a really good grade on, but that's the last time I tried anything like that. Um, so but we had floppy disks that like that. Yeah, you just said floppy disk. That I hadn't thought of that. That's what I used to save everything on.
I don't
So
think
this
he's
is
talking about
before.
floppy disks. They actually used to in
No.
the 80s. They used to have to record them on audio
Well, that's what I'm.
cassette
Yeah. I
tapes.
know he's not talking about. He's talking about before then. So
Yeah,
I didn't. I
yeah.
had
I actually
no
just
idea
watched a
what was
little
around.
documentary on YouTube about this. I had never heard of this before, and there used to be
I've never heard of it till now either.
yeah,
Yeah.
apparently there used to be like audio radio broadcasts where they would just play these recordings and people would record them in order to, I guess, share a file. It was like an old school file sharing kind of a thing.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. This is the first time I've heard of
That's
how it would be
that's some
done.
OG shit right there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And he always became best friends with somebody that had like a really good beatbox or something that had two cassettes, so you could record one to another, so you were able to share games that way.
Yeah, we did that with music. I mean, so wow, that's how the coding was done. That's insane.
That's how it was done. That was how it was done with code and how you would share games
Wow. Okay, I had no idea. Learn something new every day.
with 16 bits or sorry 16 bytes of code.
Insane.
16-bit, 16 bytes.
Yeah, you had to be anybody who knows how to code, and the first line is 10 print um 10 print blockchain banter, then type run, and it'll all instantly come back to you.
I started learning how to code when I was 10 years old because the first computer I had didn't have Windows. It was DOS. And if I wanted to open a program, I would have to go to C colon slash or something and then put CD and then the name of the directory. And I would use it exclusively for writing short stories and would save everything on floppies. That's where I started. So to be able to code something with AI and have such a modern perspective of it not only shows my age, but also it just shows how much technology has really evolved over the years.
And shows how much you've adapted and been resourceful. Like, wow, that's insane. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for some of us who have been around for a little bit longer, it's really amazing to see the progression of technology to, see audio cassette tapes to now being able to just talk to an AI agent. It's mind blowing.
It is mind blowing. Mm.
Not only talking to AI, but just the fact that we have AI, that we have computers with audio, that we have computers that we can lift that don't break our bags. I mean, I had a computer that was so big that the back of it took up almost the whole table. Things have changed so much, and now we can talk to AI from our
Oh my
phone.
god,
We can be on our
it's so true.
phone and learn about the future. It's
No,
incredible.
I had a long conversation today with AI about, just looking at the price. And I mentioned this a little bit to you before we got on the show, Kara, was, gold and silver hitting an all-time high. And to me, that makes me nervous. People who have gold and silver are probably excited. But just like seeing any of these assets go up in nominal figures, it just means to me, it's just a massive stressing. So I was going, I was probably the meanest I've ever been to my AI today because they were being so nice. Like, oh yeah, but things will work out with how this is. And I was calling the system a debt-based Ponzi scheme. They're like, oh, we get your frustration. And I was going back and forth with it, trying to get it to tell me that the system's going to fall apart tomorrow. And it wouldn't. It's like it was being so optimistic and I was being doomsday. So I've never I've never been that intense with AI, but I definitely had that conversation today. Whew.
Yeah, it's a frustrating thing with trying to talk to my dad. My dad always talking about the prices of things going up, and I'm always constantly trying to tell him and remind him that really the price isn't going up, but the value of the dollar is going down because he's one of these old schoolers where, cash is king, and I'm like, Dad, no.
Yeah, that bridging that gap is super tough. I've somewhat been able to get my dad on board with that. He actually told me cash is trash the other day. Um, but so it's taken a bit. It's taken quite a bit for him to get to that and understand it. But yeah, man, this whole to me, I've been keeping an eye. I'm curious of anybody's opinion on that. Just like that's how I feel. I just that's a big sentiment right now. People are talking about that. Gold is at $5,500 an ounce. Like that is insane to me. That is insane to me. It signals so much stress within the system. I mean,
Can you share your thoughts on that one? I admit I don't know much about what that means and what the ramifications of that is. Do you mind kind of peeling that back for us a
yeah,
little
as
bit?
much as again, I'm not a macro guy. That's not what I studied. It's not my background. My background is sales, being optimistic and going out and making shit happen and making money. Like that's what I've done most of my life. But this has been something that I've really dove deep into and I do take a look at. So, understanding these protocols and specifically Bitcoin and Kaspa, which are proof of works, decentralized, secure, bounded by energy. Um, the way I see them is they're repricing the debt-based system. They're the complete opposite of a system that where you take a look at the dollar, right? The dollar, there's no, it gets printed. And the reason, so what 16-bit said, right? His dad's like, cash is king. And people think, well, most people save their money in their house. So most people, the asset that they own is their home. So they look at the prices going up and they're like, oh, I'm getting richer. Well, what that also means is like a house is a house. A house is a commodity. So when the prices go up, what's actually happening is when there's stress in the system over history, whenever gold and so let's take a look at the last time. So gold was $20.67 an ounce for I want to say, and anybody can correct me here, but I want to say it was like 130 years. So up until the 6102 Executive Order Act in 1933, when Roosevelt made it illegal to hold gold and people had to turn in their gold, right? And then he repriced it to $35 an ounce. And when he did that, he did it to essentially write off the debt. When the dollar, when the value of the dollar goes down, it creates money out of nothing. So that's essentially what happened with the repricing of gold. You fast forward through Bretton Woods, gold was $35 an ounce up until 1971 when Nixon went on TV on a Sunday night and in a nice way said, "Oh, we're not going to redeem gold for we're not going to redeem these paper notes of these dollars for gold anymore." And it was because France was called us out, basically sent ships over, got a bunch of gold because they realized, okay, these Americans are spending way more than they're saying, and essentially we went bankrupt in 1971. So that's what happened. All right. And ever since then, there's a website. I think I've shared it before on the show, but there's a website called WTF Happened in 1971, something like that. That's when everything started going. Then we experienced hyperinflation in the late 70s. And that's when gold ran. So gold ran from about $35 an ounce to about $8.50. And here's the thing. So all that to say, gold is essentially a safe haven outside of the system, right? Gold is it's something that people go to. It's been a store of value for 5,000 years, and it exists outside the system. And ever since 1971, we haven't backed our currency with that. So like we've been on, what everybody knows as fiat now. So whenever gold goes up in price like this, it means just like a home going up in price, the value of the dollar is going down. And that's where people go to first. So like we're not going to feel it. Well, maybe depending on where you are in the country or where you are in the world, you might be feeling it in certain places. And we've talked about this on, I want to say on the other blockchain on Monday, I had a conversation with Seb about this. But the fact that like gold went up, I think 100 and it was literally $5,100 2 days ago, and now it's 5,500. I don't think it's ever done that. And that just means that there's a lot of there's just so much stress in the system. There's not enough money in the system is how I understand it. And to me, again, I don't want to sound all doomsday, but it's that the feeling of knowing what happened with the financial crisis in 2008 and the reason Bitcoin was even created, right? And then taking us to where we are right now. You can't print more gold. You have to physically go out and mine it and expand energy in order to extract it from the earth. And that's what's beautiful about, that's what was initially beautiful about Bitcoin. And then Kaspa takes that to a whole nother level, right? It is more efficient with the energy. So part of seeing what gold and silver did was like, and also having Rory on here and us talking about the energy of things over the past couple weeks is what had me put up the post that I put up this morning about, one of it just came to me this morning where Bitcoiners were saying, I just remember hearing that they're like, oh, there's only room for one proof of work. And I got a little help from AI to kind of have that make sense to me. And that inspired the post that I put up this morning because it's like, no, this bullshit about there can only be one proof of work. If there is going to be one proof of work, it's going to be Caspa because it's just way more efficient. It's what people are going to run to. So yeah, the price of gold going where it is just isn't good for us. It like isn't good for the commoner, right? For people that are like working class people. And it just shows that the dollar is being devalued at a rapid pace. So that's what it means, right? So people who hold gold, you're going to be good. You hold assets, you're going to be good. That's not 7 billion people on the planet that don't. So you're going to benefit. So you're seeing the price of what. I mean, I think eventually Bitcoin runs and Caspa runs, right? Because they're set supplies. We know the inflation, and the fact that this is the other part that's like mind blowing, right? So gold 6 months ago was a $22 trillion asset. 22 trillion. Rory talked about this on a few episodes back, where people think in crypto think, oh, this is not a huge industry. There's only $3 trillion in crypto altogether. Most of it in Bitcoin. Caspa we know is at like a little over a billion. Gold ran in the past 6 months from 22 trillion to 37 trillion in 6 months. And then silver went from like 2 trillion to 7 trillion. That just shows that that money is, people that have it are moving it. And there's so many examples in history. Weimar Germany, hyperinflation in the 30s, more recently like Zimbabwe, Argentina, what happened in Venezuela with the devaluing of the currency. And we keep saying like, oh, it's not going to happen to the dollar because the dollar is the world reserve currency. But it's just massive stress in the system. So I know I went, kind of all over the place there, but that's Yeah, I'm worried about that. Like that's where I am with it.
Rory, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Because you had talked about it, like Juan had said, and Juan is kind of opening my mind to this, that this has caused the value of the dollar to drop a lot. I'm curious, Rory, if what your perspective is on this, of what you see coming from it.
Well, the dollar is very like a lot of proof of stake or proof of any other bullshit um, uh, cryptos that are out there. You know, it's just printed from thin air. It's not based on anything. But when it comes to you know, there's currently a banking system liquidity crisis, and the recent FOMC minutes from from the Federal Reserve um, talked about the Federal Reserve liquidity injections from now through April. So historically, in what was it, 2023, the crypto market bottomed and then pivoted um, upwards on April 9th, which was following the post-tax post-tax season liquidity injections in the US. So I suppose we could expect that this is a pattern that's going to be repeated. So you have that, and then you have hopefully Trump getting rid of Jerome Powell in at least in May if he doesn't get rid of him beforehand, and hopefully interest rates will come down and more money will be released into into the market, and hopefully that liquidity, a good bit of it, should find its way into crypto.
Yeah, I don't see how it doesn't, right? Like so to take a look at the numbers. So I looked at that. This was part of my argument with AI today. I was like, okay, we were $315 trillion in debt, as in terms of all the debt in the world, and then our GDP in the world were like 250%. So what that basically means is like we have. So now it's not 315 trillion; it's up to 374 trillion, is what AI told me today, and then we produce 123 trillion. So that math isn't mathing. And now, in the US we're $38 trillion in debt. The interest on the debt is more than the defense budget. And there's things that we just can't cut costs. I don't know if you guys remember when Elon was trying to do the Doge thing, and like I thought that was a massive joke as I was looking at all this shit. And then that's what led me to buy the book The Big Print from Larry LePre. He's a Bitcoiner. They think they think Bitcoin's the answer. I just don't see. Yeah, I mean, crypto. I see the money moving to Bitcoin and things like Kaspa when people, if people really just understood what these things are, because like Rory's saying, the dollar is proof of stake. Stable coins are proof of stake. That's just people parking their money and hoping it goes up, and some of the money's going to go there naturally. Um, but it makes sense for it to go more towards something like a proof of work, right? What we have here with Caspa and the Bitcoin, and then I mean that's why people are moving it to gold and silver, because those are safe havens. They've been safe havens. Whenever so these people see what's happening with what has been the world reserve currency for 55 years, and it's just, I mean, like the average currency only lasts 27 years. So we're on borrowed time, and the debt, just like I don't get how it's going to be up to like 2 trillion. So the other part of me, right, and thinks about this, like my dad is retired military, and he gets a social security check, and like, I've checked that stuff for myself. I'm like, how is that stuff going to be around for me? I mean, I'm 44. I guess I could collect it in 20. I'm not. We're not going to collect that, Kara. Like I just don't see how that's even going to be possible. 20
No,
years.
by the time we're that age, dude, that system's gonna be completely run
And
dry.
I think, bro, I think it's going to be done in the next like 10 years when I look at the math. I don't see how it lasts 10 years. They're gonna have to they're gonna have to hyperinflate the dollar so fucking there's no option but to print this shit out of dollars. There's like no, I don't see another way out of this. And then so maybe they'll do it gradually. Um, that's kind of what they're doing right now. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like is happening. So some prices of commodities aren't as high as others. I don't know how they're managing that, but it's just not mathing. I don't see how this shit can keep up any longer. And I know there's been people talking like this for years. So for me to be here with it, because I've been such an optimist on, oh, we'll figure it out. And I am in certain areas, and I'm happy I'm within Caspa. I think you hold Caspa, you hold a hard asset that is outside of the system and the governments can't print more of, like you're safe, you're good. That just unfortunately isn't that many people. That's why I'm onboarding as many people as I can, especially the people closest to me. That's what makes it easy too, Kara. Like talking and onboarding people is like that's what's running in the background for me. Like so I have to find a way to connect this to as many people as I can. Because like there's that, and then I can come with this energy of, oh, by the way, have you heard of this? And obviously take the conversation where it needs to be taken to.
I just want
Well,
to say on the fly, I just want to briefly say, Rory, I'll let you talk in a second. I just want to say I'm just a fly on the wall for this part. This is out of my wheelhouse. So Rory, go ahead.
no, if you think about this big push, particularly by the Trump administration towards the digital dollar, and it has to be backed in some form by U.S. dollar or U.S. dollar bonds or U.S. dollar treasuries. I suspect that an awful lot of the treasuries may end up uh, backing a lot of these U.S. dollar stable coins, and you may see part of that 13 trillion in debt repayments that's required. All those treasuries are suddenly being used to back USD stable coins. So that could be the macroeconomic liquidity that's needed, and eventually that'll also into Bitcoin, and then things like
Yeah,
Kaspa.
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, again, it literally gold literally in the last 6 months ran from 22 trillion to 37 trillion. That shows how easily 10 trillion can come into crypto, and when it does that, that's when Bitcoin, Kaspa, all these take off like in 2017. I just don't see how that lasts, how that doesn't happen. So when they do have to print, so when they the way they print is like they issue these treasuries and then the Federal Reserve buys it. So that's the Ponzi scheme. And then when they do that, and I'm curious of anybody's opinion of this. Like the way I see it too. I know I just talked about like the national debt and all these, Social Security pensions, how they're going to pay these things out. I think they're going to have to. That's why, and Elon Musk talked about this. I see UBI definitely being a thing. They're going to be able to do that a lot easier with programmable stable coins. Um, they're just going to be able to program that and say, okay, we're giving every American $3,000 a month because, yeah, we understand gas is $10 a gallon and milk is $10, and so like Kaspa and Bitcoin go up in price. That's what ends up happening with commodities. I just don't see how the prices stay down. So like most, if you don't have Kaspa, you don't have Bitcoin, you're gonna need like UBI. You're gonna need the universal basic income from your government. And they're gonna make it seem like, oh, it's just what we're gonna do. So like they handed out, was it $1,200 checks here in the US during COVID? They're gonna have to hand out a shit ton more than that. Um, in order to
Yeah,
figure this
I
out.
think they
What
printed
if
3.5 trillion during COVID or something to that effect, and the numbers are just going to perpetually have to get bigger and bigger and bigger
Yeah, that's
in order to keep this cycle going. Because, like Rory said, there's a liquidity crisis. Everything's drying up. They print a bunch of money. It's going to go where it's going to go, and then all they're just going to have to keep it going, and the numbers just get perpetually larger and larger and larger to the point where the hyperinflation, you get paid in the morning and you have to spend your money immediately. Otherwise, by the end of the day, it's essentially worthless because the numbers are just going to start getting so bigger faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, that's the part. That's the part that goes over
what
most people's heads. It's like, okay, yeah, if you hold some assets, your assets are going to go up in nominal terms, but like the shit that you need on a daily basis, like that has to go up as well. That has to, because that's priced in, U.S. dollars. So that's going to be tough.
what what if what if Trump's next round of stimulus checks aren't dollars? It's
That's
digital
what
dollars.
it's probably going to be. It makes more sense for it to be the digital dollar. That's why they're doing all this shit with the Clarity Act, which is a bunch of crap, and all this stuff. So that's why what we have here with Caspa is so important to get out to as many people as possible. Because I think all that shit is just they can be the Trojan horse because one it's just another form of control. That's what they have to do. They're gonna have to do it digitally. That's why they've taken away cash. They're no longer making pennies here. It's eventually going to be no longer making dollars and or any of that. So, and it's only a matter of time. I just don't see how this drags out any longer with the debt where it's at. Millennial, go ahead.
Yep. So I don't know. It's a complex situation. There's a lot of moving parts. So you were right about everything that kind of transpired through Bretton Woods and FDR, the Great Society, and the petrodollar in 1971, France, all that. So there's a few things that I like to look at. I like to look at the USD, Japanese yen. If that conversion ratio dips too far, then you could start seeing the unwind of the carry trade. So right now I think it's at like 150 what is it, 153. So if it drops down to the 140s, 130s, then we could start seeing some unwinding. I don't think that money is going to rotate from gold and silver. I think it's just going to continue to increase. There was some information that I saw where a lot of it has to do with the BRICS and the global South, and then there's talk that they're trying to create a unit, a a a currency, cryptocurrency from the New Development Bank that's backed by a basket of commodities. It's 60% gold, 20% silver, 15% natural gas, and petroleum, and 5% rare earth elements. And part of the reason that the price of silver is going up is because um, they need it for that, to back that currency that they're um, trying to implement in the global south. Also, in a way to get around Swift and just do and to de-dollarize, which is a problem for a lot of people, especially in the West. Let's see. Not only that, they've had some developments. Of course, silver is used as an industrial metal. So the solar farms,
Oh, sorry.
electric vehicles, those batteries require silver. Basically, the modern economy requires silver on an industrial level, so they need it for that reason as well. So when it comes to Caspa and Bitcoin, Caspa I think is a better technology. I've used it. I use it to send money. between the people that I've been able to onboard or whatnot. But I think there's a general like misunderstanding, or that they're just like there's not enough knowledge about what Web3 technology is, and how it's used, and how it's you know being able to send money from peer to peer. I think there is just a level of like uh, people don't understand, and that's not entirely their fault. We live in a hyper a world where everybody's getting pinged from every different direction. It's we're overly inundized in ads and commercials. I remember when I first went to YouTube. I loved it because I could watch what I wanted. There was no ads, there was no commercials, and now it seems like I can't even get through a YouTube video without there being an interjection or interruption or something of that nature. So I think part of explaining, people Caspa is going to also be explaining Web3 and what does that mean. And then there's going to have to be some type of like understanding of like, because like I think that what makes the most sense is the money part, is the being able to send money to and from cross borders without intermediaries, without banks, without fees and penalties and things of that nature, not having it seized. I think what becomes more complex is the layer two aspect of it, and the Web3 technology, to where people are going to be paying for goods and services in an independent, decentralized economy, um, that where you're paying people individually, you're paying companies individually, but you're taking out the middleman and you're reducing the fees. So I think that's probably like the most complex thing about it. Uh, with the other things, as far as the economy, I mean, it's just a adverse situation. I mean, everybody's sort of you, Juan, were spot on. I mean, we just printed money. We could all the assets in the world had to be denominated in dollars, and so there was an artificial supply of dollars, and that required printing of the money, the reserve asset. But as there's a shift toward a multipolar world, as China and the global South have become more powerful and have developed and devised their own systems, then there's a risk that there's going to be too many dollars in the system, which could create the hyperinflation. So the stable coins could be a way of um, democratizing the debt, I guess you could say. So, it's a big, complex, multifaceted monster that's kind of out there. But when it comes to rotating the money back into crypto, it's really going to have to be stressed that this is a hedge on um, the fiat system, right? It's not that the value of Caspa would be going up; it's that the value of the dollar would be going down, as opposed to Caspa. But there's other things that you can look at as far as pairs, like Caspa versus Bitcoin, or maybe they have some Caspa versus gold, and so those numbers don't look quite the same if you compare just to the fiat system. But I think that people need to understand that it is a hedge on the financial system. It is a hedge on your shrinkflation, where you go to the store and you may pay the same price, but your bag of Doritos is a lot smaller, or the bag of Doritos is no longer 2.49, it's 5.69, and so like, but it's the same amount of Doritos and maybe a little bit more air in the bag. So they need to be able to visualize it in those concepts, because um, fiat money in itself is intrinsically abstract, and because the money always stays the same, but people need to understand it in terms of their purchasing power. And I think that if we can make that connection, then people will maybe understand the value of it a little bit more. So
Yeah, thanks, Millennial. That was a great breakdown. You brought up a couple things there with what's happening with bricks and them putting out the unit. I wasn't aware of what was in the basket of the commodities that they're doing. Yeah, so there's, I think that speaks to this whole, there's one thing that's gonna come to the forefront is just not really the case, and there are options to opt out of that, and it really is about preserving your purchasing power and us continuing to get that message out there as much as we can. So yeah, going back to what Kara asked with gold and silver, and that's what it signals strike doomsday there a little bit, but yeah, I'm laughing, but it's like a serious thing, yeah, and it's like you said, millennial, it is multifaceted and a little bit complex and can sound confusing because we use all this fancy jargon and languaging and all that. But I do think there's an opportunity to educate and move people towards understanding it. I've been fortunate to onboard most people that are really close to me. Um, and so for example, I held Bitcoin. I didn't really understand what it was, but when I looked at in my deep dive of money over the past 2.5 years, I'm like, oh shit, like things got cheaper for me over the past 4 years. But since COVID, so from COVID, I was building a business and I was making money, and my purchasing power went way up because I held a good amount of Bitcoin. So I see the same opportunity with what Caspa is now, but on a whole nother level, right? Because yeah, the money, the peer-to-peer aspect is a feature of what Caspa is doing, but Caspa is also there's this again being the base layer for settlement. I think energetically shifts people into this energy in this space that this whole initiative within Caspa. Give Chad Rubard from Rubard Media credit for this, but like powered by Caspa, right? So that's why for me it's really easy to onboard people, get people on, get them some Caspa a little bit, because I think I benefited from before Caspa was launched, just holding Bitcoin and knowing that I was out there, putting in work and putting my money away in it. And the problem with Bitcoin is it's really hard to use peer to peer. So that's why Caspa's here, the evolution of it. So yeah, man, I appreciate you sharing those insights on.
Someone mentioned, they're being hit by a lot of adverts for crypto and things like that on TV and various other forms of media, and I think that's a form of preconditioning. Because there's this obscure and I suppose controversial hypothesis of morphic fields and morphic resonance, and the idea that patterns become easier to repeat as a kind of a collective memory builds up. So this isn't a tinfoil hat moment, Cara, but um, I'm not asking anybody to believe in anything supernatural, but just consider this as an idea that fields remember what we repeat, and the Casper community is a field, and to some extent, um, communities don't unify by personality, they unify by a clear attractor, a shared mission that pulls everybody into a certain phase. And I suppose if you think about it, a community without a mission becomes a crowd. A mission without a community becomes a note that nobody hears. So for us as a community, we need to agree on the mission, stop arguing about the noise. Mission is gravity, and then everything else is just weather. And those in North America are just going through a little bit of a bad weather front at the moment.
Oh yeah, it's even cold in Florida. Like I've had to wear a sweater the last 3 days. I'm not used to that.
Yeah, yeah. So if we think that the community is the field and Caspa is the physics, the community around Caspa, and as that spread, the community is the field ecology. It's the environment that determines whether physics becomes civilization or not. And in terms of Kaspa is the ledger, the community is the atmosphere, and the protocol defines what's possible, and then the field determines what becomes inevitable. So if you consider Kaspa as the tech being the body, the culture around it, and the culture around crypto becomes the nervous system.
Yeah, I love that, and I know you're not asking any of us to be like metaphysical or whatnot, but I am. I think checking your energy, and I know I kind of went talking about my concern with seeing where these commodities are in terms of priced in the fiat, but this is about moving like you're talking about, Rory, and and understanding that like we have a common mission here, and I do feel that the culture within Caspa is about. We talked about building the first half, and what Kara's doing, and Izio Dev. They had a beautiful conversation that I was a fly on the wall for. But that we have a beautiful thing here, a beautiful thing here that it has organically spread, right? Like we are individually the marketing team, and I think we're getting pretty organized with moving towards that mission, like you're talking about.
Yeah, I suppose that I suppose that morphic resonance is a community building lens. So if every morphic resonance is even metaphorically true, then every active building, like through the Kaspathon or whatever else or what we're doing, is cast into the field. So we're not just building software; we're building defaults, and what we build now becomes easier for the next person to build, and that starts to reinforce the overall field. And I suppose coherence, to some extent, is the real scaling solution. Everybody talks about scaling at the network layer, but the social scaling coherence is what turns tech into adoption. So scaling isn't just about throughput; it's about coherence, and this is what's quite important. Narrative correctly, because a fractured message is like a signal with phase noise. It doesn't matter how loud it is; it just won't carry. But I think as a community, when we're coherent, the mission travels far further than any marketing budget. And to some extent, that's been proven out by Tesla, who haven't spent a penny on marketing, and yet they're one of the biggest car companies in the world.
But I think that's inherently what makes Caspa a little bit complex, is because not only is it a layer one base money like Bitcoin, but it also has the expanded Ethereum style smart contract, real world asset tokenization. And so it's a amalgamation of both, and that makes it inherently complex and confusing to understand.
Yeah, but who amongst the regular community can distinguish what Ethereum is from Bitcoin? Just general people. They generally don't. They don't know anything about it. They just know price go up, price goes down. So I think public awareness isn't necessarily about volume. It's about clarity. And as a community, our job is to be consistent in terms of how we laser like focus on what the mission of CASPA actually is. Because if you explain CASPA to 10 people in 10 different ways, then this playing field we have becomes a little bit of a fog. So I think for people, and there's a lot of great creators here and writers here. The goal isn't not necessarily to win attention. The goal is to deserve understanding. And from I suppose from the from the people that we interact within KAI, industrial adoption requires a different type of frequency, and that's trust.
Right.
So industrial players don't really adopt vibes; they adopt reliability, standards, auditability, and predictable behavior, and that's a trust frequency. So industry doesn't really move on excitement; it moves on certainty. Um, Industrial adoption is when your story survives a compliance meeting in a bank, or within a hedge fund, or whatever else. So
Well,
I see it from our perspective. We don't need to be louder for institutions. We need to be more legible.
And that makes total sense. I guess that kind of goes back to the original premise of, well, is it a business to business evolution of the Nakamoto consensus, or is it still the peer to peer transmission of money between individuals?
Yeah, and that's something that we need to work on by what field is shaped most by what reward as a community. So communities are there to be trained either consciously or unconsciously by reward systems, and those being attention, status, and amplification. So reward drama. We manufacture drama. If you reward building, we manufacture builders. So attention is the currency of the field. So we have to spend it really well, and spend it like a steward of the field.
So, Rory, would you say that? I mean, I feel like we're in this building phase, and I do feel that we are, I've been a part of conversations and spaces here recently where I feel a shift of more coordination towards having that message be clear. And I kind of like Millennial asked, I'm like, okay, I know what so I know what it is for me. I onboard people every day. I'll put up a few pictures of the 3 or 4 people, so I do that, but that's like on a very basic level. Do you think that that's something that will eventually show itself, or do you think we're yeah, so I'll just leave it there. We'll just start with that question. Do you think that's something that'll show itself, or do you think we haven't figured that out yet?
I don't think we've quite figured it out yet, but I think we're on the way. The narrative around Kaspa has changed dramatically since the beginning, when it was the trilemma solver, the digital silver, all of this sort of good stuff. Um, but what we need to do is to avoid feeding, let's call them destructive pendulums.
Okay, that makes sense.
So we want to avoid tribal wars.
I agree with that big time.
Um, you know, if group energy is structured by attention, especially conflict, even if you treat it metaphorically, it's extremely practical. Wherein you have what you have at the moment. You have maxi wars and tribal identity battles, and you have the XRP army, and the Bitcoin maxis, and so on and so on and so on. And then you end up with these outrage
Yeah,
loops, and all of these, if you go back to the field analogy, all of these are field
I
parasites.
agree with that.
And
Yeah,
I suppose every ecosystem has
sure.
predators,
Yeah,
and in crypto, one predator is conflict is entertainment, and a mission can't move forward if the field itself is busy feeding war. So, I think attention as a community to the circus, and let's invest it in a cathedral instead.
I think what you just said there, and I see him. I see him in the field, Gonzo. So I want to shout Gonzo. I had a great conversation with Gonzo today. So we're in this chat, and it was Odie who I know inspired his idea, and I'll let Gonzo speak on it if he wants to talk details. But I'll talk the energy that I felt with Gonzo was that I know Gonzo, for example, is somebody who I've learned a lot from, is super knowledgeable, and what has happened with us over the past 6 months is a majority of the community does go after the Bitcoiners, and like we want to ask questions, and you know what, to a certain extent I can see how that was necessary to kind of get more of, get more people to, it got me to start speaking on these spaces, and to kind of be a voice and to share what I could do, like what can I do to help. And I do feel the shift. And again, to speak to the conversation I had with Gonzo, it's a brilliant idea, and it's really, he even said it. He said, "Man, if I spent the energy that I expanded on talking to these people that sometimes goes nowhere, and I know I'm typing this stuff, and maybe people are going to see it, but if I spent this energy on organizing us to have this guerrilla type of marketing strategy where we can go to a platform and organize ourselves, and whatever the case may be, like I said, I don't want to take anything away from the conversation and his idea, because it was a brilliant idea, and I just came to it with and I'm happy that you're talking to me about it, and yeah, that this is something that we definitely need to organize. So I think that's happening right now, and I can speak to that, right? I feel it from again, just shouting out Gonzo again, and the shift that's happening. But I'm with you. I'm with you, Rory. I think that we do need to move towards that, because energy is everything. Energy is in everything, like you've mentioned on a couple of the spaces that you've been on here with us. So yeah, it's time to do
Yeah,
that.
well, I suppose that, if you think of, again, if you think of if the Caspa community becomes an organism, then intention starts to synchronize, and then when intention is shared, the work, in the same way as Caspa becomes parallelized,
Mm.
and the community starts behaving like a single organism with distributed
Ooh.
intelligence. So if we can lock in on the same mission, Caspa stops becoming, in quotes, I suppose, a project, and becomes a living system, to some extent. And I think it's very important that we do develop this coherence within the community around the messaging, around exactly what Caspa is and isn't. And once that community has that distributed mind, many hands make one, everyone doing the same thing. We need everyone aimed at the same horizon.
Yeah, that goes to the energy. Again, it's going to naturally flow that way when that's where we're spending. That's where we're expanding our energy into. So, like you said, it becomes like a living organism that's just moving. We become a movement, and it's like the parasites fall off. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. We got somebody requesting to speak. TK, I just approved you. I don't think we've met you. Yeah, great stuff, Rory. Thanks for bringing it to that, because I think it's definitely an important topic, and yeah, I can feel a shift. I can definitely feel a shift within the community heading that way, and we will figure this out. We will figure this out and get more organized, and it'll naturally evolve itself, is the way I see it and feel it. So I've said this before, and we definitely need to keep talking to each other, and like Gonzo reached out because he was inspired, and I'm like, yeah, my DMs are open. I won't speak for everybody else, but most people's DMs in here are open. Like whatever, Izio offered his help to Kara with what she's doing and building, and it's like, we know Izio's super busy with what he's doing, but that's the only way we get towards what Rory's talking about here, and it's can we be that living organism where like the parasites just fall off, like Bitcoin maxis? Yeah, we haven't mingled with those people. They're not who we're. They're no concern to us anymore. Like if we ever get to that energy, oh my god, wow! I'm getting goosebumps over here on my head, and I have no hair. So
I think anybody that's a
Um,
real Bitcoiner is automatically going to accept the idea of what Caspa
they'll
is.
naturally
I
flow
think
in,
it's
right? Like I see them naturally
yeah,
flowing in,
absolutely naturally.
and
Because
it'll be once
we can,
we
I
we
mean,
yeah,
obviously you're a Bitcoin, I'm a
exactly,
Bitcoiner, or at
exactly,
least we were at some
yeah.
point. I don't know if you saw just recently there was an account, I think it was Lucky Luciano or something to that effect, has 2 million followers. He's a seem to be what I would say is a Bitcoin maxi, and he recently posted about Caspa. So people with their eyes open are gonna see the prospect of Caspa.
I agree, man. I mean, I've had a couple buddies, especially with like the energy towards them too is like, man, you're just not ready. You're not seeing it yet. It's all good. Let's talk about something else. Like I don't even give it energy anymore. And I think that's where we will accomplish more if we focus on what this is and sharing it authentically in that way, versus giving that any energy. I think that's the shift that's happening. It's like happening pretty organically and naturally. So, like you said, 16-bit, like we all, not every single person, but most of us like came from it, and like I like to say, it's like we have to not be attached to this stuff and speak on what it is.
yeah, and I suppose some some simple actionable, I suppose, protocols would be, we have to have coherence before content, and that's before you post anything. Ask yourself the question: does this strengthen um, the organism or the field of Caspa, or does it add static? And then, can you explain Caspa in one breath? And then, you need to you need to look after the builders always, because a community that protects builders protects its future. And we don't need to have any wars for attention. Because what that does is that 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 makes our enemies, I suppose, feel alive to some extent. Um, and then public awareness equals a shared language, and then that shared language as a mission travels at the speed of the simplest sentence. And then from an industrial adoption perspective, we need discipline, because institutions and industries, they don't adopt excitement, they adopt integrity. And then the final step would be make the next person's step easier, and that's how the organism learns, and that's how resonance builds. So if we can bear those sorts of things in mind, or those principles in mind, when we do what we do in terms of trying to promote Caspa, then I think it'll, we're just going to make it easier for the next group of people that are Caspified and get onboarded and join the community.
Message received over here, and I think a lot of people here are receiving that. So yeah, well, I appreciate that insight because that's where we're shifting to. And message received. Kara, how we doing?
Yeah. Coherence is so important, and Rory's given us some really good things to think about there. And this has been a really insightful conversation. I do think we need to wrap it up to keep it under 3 hours so that we can archive it until Flogen finds a way for us to archive our longer content again. Uh, so I just want to take this time to thank everybody who took the time to be here, whether you have stayed for a long period of time or were here for a short time, or you're here in person or listening on a recording. We appreciate you. those listening to us here or on YouTube. I didn't have Vivor on today, but I just want to say thank you all for being here and for all of our amazing guests on our panel. We've had Izio. I have so much respect for what you've taught me today. I really appreciate all of that. We had Millennial, 16-bit, Rory. You guys bring just a wealth of content and information and just sharing your insights. And Juan, you diving into the dollar and the gold and the price of all that. It's a huge learning experience for me. I really appreciate it. It's so much gold. And I just also want to share, we did not archive last week's YouTube. We didn't archive last week's Blockchain Banter on YouTube because I guess it went a little too long, and for some reason I can't seem to archive it yet, but I'm still working on it. And anyone who would like to send some love, we do have a wallet at beneaththesurface.cas. If you feel like sending a donation or a gift, Juan and I split it 50-50. Again, not a requirement. It's just if you want to send some love. And I just want to say thank you all for being here. Juan, you have about 1 minute before it
Well,
closes
you
on us.
covered it all there. So again, echo everything that Kara said there. Appreciate all of you guys coming on, showing up here, on here live, and a big thanks to the people that are going to listen back. I think the message has been received, right? We're organizing and moving all this forward. So appreciate each and every single one of you. So thank you for joining Blockchain Banter Beneath the Surface, where Kaspa carries that current of truth, vibrating at the frequency of seekers, one conversation at a time. Remember, be humble, be kind. Let's give it time and let's get it going. Love you all. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everybody.